What's up, everyone? Max Power here, and welcome back to the arena. It's been a while, but we've got a treat for you today. We're going to do a CGC submission preview, and it's going to be a bit of cards here. We're going to review one by one very briefly so we can see what it is that we're going to send over. And we're actually going to do a bit of a guess the grade preview to see if how well we do in estimating what these cards are going to get. If you guys of course, like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends. We do say that there's a trend with CGC submission related videos. I would like to make more. I don't really have a middleman service, but if this is something that gets popularity, maybe it's something we decide to do. But for the time being, I'm actually submitting some cards myself, and the other half is actually a friend of mine who agreed to send his over, and it's going to be a mix of Pokemon and Digimon cards for today. So without that, let's go ahead and get started. And the first one is going to be an old school banger. It's going to be this Lugia from Gold and Silver Neo Genesis back in the day. And honestly, it's really not in bad condition. It's not perfect, but I went ahead and thought to submit it. I do think this is going to get probably about a 7.5. Not bad for something that's really, really old. You can see that foil is just so beautiful. And hopefully we do get that. Once the cards come back, we'll reveal what those grades actually are. So of course, going into the next one, this is a Shining Mew. You might have seen this one as well as some of the others in a previous video. This is a really crispy card, guys. I don't really see many flaws with it. Centering's pretty great. It's always good to check the back because the back, has a lot of things that they look out for as far as the graders. I think this can get an 8.5 or maybe even a 9. 8.5 or a 9 for that Shining Mew. Coming up, we got this Mewtwo Gx, beautiful Mewtwo. A lot of people really like it when I first showed it off in the video. It's great. I don't think it has the best centering, but maybe it still might get like a 9 or an 8.5 as far as centering. The back looks, again, it's pretty crisp. It's beautiful. There's no whiting. I'm going to go ahead and just say 8.5, maybe a 9 if we're lucky for that Mewtwo. Next up, we got Pikaram, Pikachu and Zekrom GX. This is just a beautiful card, guys. I kind of wish I was submitting more of the Rainbow Rares, especially from Team Up, from the Sun and Moon era. This one's my favorite. It's got enough of that value to really merit getting a high score, and also probably the worth of it. I'm going to go ahead and just say this one's going to get a 9. It's really hard to get a 10 with CGC, but that just means that they grade a little more stricter. But when it does get a higher grade, it merits it a lot more. Now, the reason I'm not submitting more of the Rainbow Rares is because I want to submit cards, number one, that I like. Number two, that either I feel they're not as popular or not as common. They're not too readily available out there. And also some that have, value as far as, it could be sentimental like we've discussed in another video, or they could be worth flipping in the future if I decide to sell them. I don't think I will be selling these anytime soon, but if I ever did, that's more where that's coming from. Next up is another fan favorite, this Tyranitar V, after the buffet, as Lane Hart would say, after eating. A lot of these. I posted this on my Instagram saying, who identifies with this? He just eats a lot and then he passes out, right? Centering on this one's not the best, but everything else is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and say this could get maybe a 9 just because it's so good on all the other fronts except for centering. Same is kind of going to go for this Rapid Strike Urshifu V Max. It is so nice. It's beautiful. I love this artwork. Over time, these have become a little more popular and the values come down, but I still want to go ahead and grade it, especially since both of these are alternate arts. They're just beautiful. Get them encased. They preserve their status and value. Hopefully this gets a 9.5, but because of the centering itself, I'm going to say if it's not a 9.5, it's going to be a 9. Now, I'm trying to keep the parameter close, so it's not like I'm cheating, it's a legitimate grade that I think it could and should get. Next up is another favorite alternate art straight out of Evolving Skies, is Rayquaza V. I actually prefer this one than the V Max, even though that's another great one. But just look at this card, guys. It's so beautiful. Well worth it. The back is also pretty clean and crisp. I'm going to say this card probably has the best chance to get a 10. This one and the next one coming up. I mean, they're just really, really nice. I'm good with anything that they get, but these cards, thanks to the previous ones that I've had submitted, I'm able to kind of benchmark what I think my new cards are going to get. And something I didn't take into consideration the last time was actually looking at the back. Sometimes what sets these apart right here from some of the other ones that I sent that were maybe 6s, 7s, 8s, and these 8.5s, the back. If you see nothing else in the front, if surface is great, the back will determine a lot of that for the graders. So that's actually something that can help you guys as well if you're considering grading. Next up is Charizard, and this is from the Celebrations Classic Collection. This is another card that I think might actually get that 10, guys. Maybe pristine, maybe perfect. I'm good if it gets pristine. I know a lot of people get frustrated because they want that perfect score, but this is not PSA we're talking about. And even PSA doesn't, because remember, both companies now have artificial intelligence with their grading. So it's not just a human, but it's also computerized. But honestly, really, that's important for the longevity and the standardization of this grading. I'm a fan of it. Next up is some Digimon. We got something at a 1.5 special release. This is Black War Greymon. This is this alternate art. I love this card so much. I'm really happy that I was able to pull this because Black War Greymon is one of my favorites. This is the first time that I submit anything Digimon. Hopefully the quality on these is great. I think it is. Centering's beautiful and everything else. There's no flaws with this. I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to get a 10. I'm going to just risk it. I'm going to gamble. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm going to say this is going to get a 10. Let's see when they come back. And right now, guys, I forgot to mention, this is an economy submission. The turnaround time is 28 days. That's in working days, so that's about 2 months. That's not bad at all. If you guys are considering getting anything graded, check out CGC, check out Economy. It might be worth your while right now. Next up is another alternate art out of Digimon, but this is the 1.0 release, and this is Lilithmon. I'm not sending it because this is one of my favorites or anything like that, but some might consider it a waifu, some might have, you know, their niche interest with it. This might actually score pretty high. I think the centering is not as good as this one. The top is a little bit bigger than the bottom, but it could be worth a lot. I've seen these go for a bit, and especially if it gets a high grade, I think it's going to be very, very valuable down the road. So worth grading. I think that one's going to get a 9 because of that centering, but everything else looks perfect. Next two are actually going to be a blast from the past from 12 years ago. We got Arcanine. This is a regular holographic. It's not the prime cards from that set. It's not the legends from that set. And there's 2 of them here. But the reason I'm grading these is because I do believe that these are low pop. Low population, guys. That's always a good thing. If they're not the most common cards out there, they're going to automatically warrant a little more attention, a little more value per se. These are a little more nicked up because, again, they are 12 years old. They're not perfect, but they're pretty good considering how old they are. I said the same about these right here, you know, my Tyranitar and Blastoise. Look at the score they got, and they're just as old. So I think these can actually easily score maybe an 8. I'm going to say an 8 for both of these, maybe an 8.5. And I'll take that all day because, again, low population, that automatically gives it high value. And these are the last ones that I'm submitting, and it's going to be Charizard G from Supreme Victors. I wish I had more cards I was submitting from Supreme Victors, but I just don't have that many fancy cards or holos or anything special like that. But again, these are actually going to be 2 other cards that are also low population. So there's not many that have been sold, I don't think. And for that reason alone, and also because it's a Charizard, I get to add it to my existing Zards that are graded, as well as the other one that I'm grading. And that'll go along nicely with my collection. The fact that they're not holographic might actually help it get a better score because it's easier to grade. Next up are going to be from my friend, so we're pretty much down the middle with these. He's got a Zard of his own. It's going to be the Celebrations pack. And he did get this out of a Pikachu VMAX, the figure collection. This can score pretty high. The centering might not be there, but that doesn't mean it still can't get, you know, basically, I'm going to say this thing's going to get a 9. Let's say it'll get a 9. Hopefully CGC does not listen to me and they score better. But hey, another one that also came out of that box, it's the promo, the Pikachu VMAX. Not the Rainbow Rare, but this one's pretty cool because he has his hands up. He looks like he's ready to party. I'm going to say this one can get easily maybe an 8.5, maybe a 9. But this is cool because he gets to add to his collection. And along with that, he's got a lot of banger cards. So not knocking any of these whatsoever. These might actually be better than mine. Now he's got Rayquaza V of his own. Another beautiful card. I wish I had more of these. I mean, I'm sure anyone else would. It's a little bit off center from left to right. These might just be like random specs that are here. Always want to check your cards that they don't have like dust and stuff on them, but the grader will check these themselves just to make sure that they get the best accurate grade. And hopefully when they get pressed, they don't leave any of that junk in there. My friend also has a Rapid Strike Urshifu of his own. We got excited when we pulled this, the Rayquaza and the Charizard. So like not a lot of our friends have these 3 cards, but we thought it's really cool that the 3 of us do. So we had to just get all of these graded so we can have them as something in common. Something that I do not have and he does is this Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. I think it's really cool. It might not be the most valuable one, but once it's graded, and I think this is going to grade pretty well. The last 2, I forgot to mention, they're probably going to get 9s, I would think. I think this would probably also get a 9. This can probably also get a 9. It's pretty clean. There's nothing off with the sides, the back of it. These are pretty much pack fresh, and he sleeved them right away. I think he did a fantastic job taking care of these. Just because cards are pack fresh, guys, that doesn't mean anything. They're never going to be perfect. Don't listen to YouTubers that say, oh my God, this is going to be a 10 right away. No, it can come out of a pack. It can be damaged. It might have something off. It might be off center. They're not always perfect. They can be, but not always. This card I absolutely love. Mew VMAX. I did post this on my Instagram when you first pulled it out, and it's amazing, guys. This is definitely something worth grading. Centering is not the best, but it doesn't matter. I think this is going to probably get like an 8.5 or a 9, and it is Mew VMAX. If you guys have looked this up, this is number 1, it's rare and it's therefore valuable. So graded, it's going to shoot up that value through the moon. As well as these 2, which I'm going to show off together because they're pretty much related and they're cousins. We got Glaceon VMAX and Sylveon VMAX. These actually have some of the best centerings of this group of submissions. They're beautiful. We've already spoken that if he pulls the other evolutions in Rainbow Rare, it's actually a great niche to have collected because you get to have all the evolutions in Rainbow graded. I think that's something that's beautiful. Your Glaceon is going to have a best shot out of 10. And I think the Glaceon might be a 9. But these are crisp, they're beautiful, and they have better centering. So that's awesome. Next up, we have an alternate art. We have Tornadus V. I wish I could submit more alternate arts. They're just so beautiful. Like at some point I would like to have an alternate art collection graded, pretty much of all of them. I might submit them in the future. I have some like my Empoleon, like the Greedent, even the Golurk. They're just so beautiful. So that's something I definitely want to keep in mind. I do think this is going to get, I know I'm being generous, but honestly, these cards are just great. They don't have anything off other than maybe the centering. This can get you a 9.5, 9 to 9.5, I think. Definitely worth watching that video when it comes out, guys. Next up, Professor's Research. They got to do these full arts with the supporters a bit more often. They already do, but man, they picked a great one to do with Professor Oak. Homage to the original. This one does have some whitening on the top. I just realized. Maybe it's just the lighting or the angle I'm looking at. Other than that, I think it's great. This can get a 9 all day. 9 or an 8.5 because of that scuffing. You can actually see it on both sides, unfortunately. Next up, Marnie. Marnie here, full art. You know this is going to get the value. It's going to have a good grade. It's going to, you know, popular with the fans and whatnot. So I don't see a lot of these graded, which is why I wanted to send mine. I'm not, but definitely worth it if you have your own. Centering's a bit off, so I will say that it should get no lower than an 8.5. Maybe it still gets a 9. But again, that's a great condition card. There's nothing wrong with it. Centering is what kills it, and that's not something we can control. That's just how it comes out of the pack. Next up, and this is going to round up our submission for this time, it is going to be Omnimon Alter S, the alternate art. I have this same card, but it's not the alternate art, so this one's way cooler, way better. Love it. And it's incredible. Centering is there. Well, it's a little off center now I think about it from top to bottom. That it is. And there's a bit of a nick on the top left. I wish I didn't see that. I feel like I'm being a harsh critic right now. But these are things that they're going to look at. And this isn't the best lighting here. But I'm hoping this could still get maybe an 8.5. I don't see why not. Regardless, it's going to be a little bit more valuable than maybe some of the other cards we have collectively here because it's an alternate art and it's rare. That one's going for a lot of money. Last but not least, a lot of fan favorite and nostalgic for some of us is Magna Angemon. This is also the alternate art out of 1.0. The Omnimon was out of 1.5, which we have 1.5 right here and 1.0. So those are the boxes they come out of. This Magna Angemon is pretty crispy, guys. It looks good. Centering is great. There's nothing on the surfaces. And, you know, maybe this can get a... I think this is going to get a 9.5. I think this is going to get a 9.5. And that's not knocking it at all. I don't work for CGC. Maybe I get sponsored in the future by them. That'd be great. But, yeah, you might be wondering why these little tabs are here. Just makes it easier to put it in and put it out, especially for the grader. It just makes it nice and tidy for them. And, you know, something that they enjoy. Guys, thank you so much for taking out the time. Again, really appreciate all your feedback, your likes, your support, your sharing this video. Please share it with anyone that you might think would enjoy this. If anyone that you know is considering submitting cards. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Other than that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, guys, have a great one.